2024 has been a surprisingly fantastic year for movies.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
It has delivered much quicker than I would expect in a given year. Usually around this time, maybe we have one or two films of note. On a given year, we usually have to wait till October to get this many fantastic films. I wanted to do this video because I'm always annoyed that I'm not able to talk about my fringe top 10 movies by the end of the year. They usually get pushed off the list towards the end of the year because of the other great movies coming out. For instance, 7 of my top 10 films of last year came out after September. So let's get on with this list. I'm going to go very quickly through 10 through 6 and talk more about my top 5. Some quick honorable mentions would be Abigail and Monkey Man. Both were extremely fun movies that I had a blast with. One of the early shockers, an absolute great legacy sequel. The intro alone to this film will get you hooked, and the performance by Nell Tiger Free was innocent, fearful, and absorbing. Loved her. What a fantastic debut by Arkasha Stevenson. Only thing I really didn't like was how they started to make the ties with the original film at the end. Somehow that's the weakest part of the film. A movie has never oozed confidence and passion more like The People's Joker. The definition of won't be for everyone, but it's not supposed to be. The visual style may grow tiresome to most, it eventually did on me, but I appreciate the unapologetic nature to this film. There are a lot of hilarious moments, and even as a cis dude, I was moved a lot by this movie. Been a while since I've seen this, debuted at Sundance in January, but I loved A Real Pain. Jesse Eisenberg's last time directing wasn't met with praise, but this time he has taken the extra step to make a memorable film. The film decides to ask a lot of profound questions. I like the idea of putting all these people together with different pains. The script feels like it was written for Kieran Culkin. My favorite takeaway from this film would be this big monologue from Jesse Eisenberg, where he talks about extraordinary pain versus everyday pain. See it when you can. I've talked Furiosa like 3 times on this channel now. Loved it. Anya Taylor-Joy is perfect for the role. Her facial expressions match the pain. George Miller is a star, even at 80 years old. Click my channel for 2 other Furiosa videos. Okay, I'll be honest here. This is pretty much tied with Furiosa, but why was this so good? I've never seen a Bad Boys movie, and now I will see them all. Will Smith has always been such a star, but this role, this film, oh my gosh, why is it so good? First of all, the directing is absolutely full of sauce. Out the gate, this movie stuns you visually with some otherworldly concepts. I thought everything was firing on all cylinders, perfect side characters with a lot of comedy. Maybe a somewhat easy twist to predict, but the climax delivers. One of my biggest shocks of the year. Okay, to the top 5. Love Lies Bleeding was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. Rose Glass stunned me with Saint Maud. So when I was told that she was making an 80s bodybuilder horror movie that has been described as Cronenbergish, I was sold. Also, it's easily the most happy I've ever been sitting through intro credits, because no one told me this was a Clint Mansell score. He's a top 5 composer of all time for me. It's a beautifully dense and jam-packed script. It tackles themes of brutality, stupidity, especially within relationships, love without condition, abuse, and much more. Katie O'Brien is an absolute star. She needs to be in more stuff ASAP. Kristen Stewart has always been a star. I love the visuals. I just love this film so much. Every movie needs Ed Harris as an evil dad. I also love Dave Franco. I've been obsessed with this Franco brother for a while now, and this is the role I want to see him take more. Love it head to toe. Great movie. Man, I really love Linklater, man. I watched the Before trilogy earlier this year and fell in love with this dude's filmography. This is somehow just as good as everything else he has made. Hitman is about Glenn Powell, who is a boring teacher, but moonlights with the police department as a hitman for police stings. The thesis of this film is about hitman not being real. There are more hitmen in movies and television than in real life. The whole film is about artificialism. I am shocked by how good the script is, because on the surface it just feels like a dumb, fun movie. Man, Glenn Powell is so good here. He is putting on a showcase. He's showing his dramatic chops, his chops to do other characters, his comedic side. He really is our next star. Twisters can't come soon enough. I love this movie. I never made a Dune video, and that feels like such a mistake. When I walked out of Dune 2, the first thought I had was, this is what it must have felt like walking out of Empire Strikes Back. And I know this movie is only number 3 on my list. These top 3 films are all 10s for me. Can't remember the last time I had 3 10s, especially this quickly. Dune 2 is the perfect sequel to the first part. The first part ultimately feels like a setup for this payoff, which makes this movie that much better. When they announced the cast back in 2021, and they announced the director, my god, there was not a bad decision in sight, and it's never been more apparent than after Dune 2. The new additions to this film are all fantastic as well, even Christopher Walken. If you've read the book, Christopher Walken is how I read The Emperor in my head. Austin Butler should win awards for this, but probably won't due to the genre. He takes your breath away, his voice, his power, he's just fantastic. I don't think Timothée Chalamet has ever been better, a legit career best. And the moments he takes over as the Lisan Al-Gaib is the definition of a star-is-made moment. Zendaya is such a good Chani, and I love the changes Denis made to her character. You buy the romance, the score during the romance scenes are my favorite parts of the composition. It's Dune 2, it's Denis, it was always going to be perfect. I made a video for each of the top 2 movies. I saw The TV Glow as one of the best movies I've seen in the last few years. I am a different person after watching this movie, and that is not an exaggeration. This movie is about escapism and somehow about seizing your life. The performances across the board are reserved yet impactful. The outburst later in the film from Justice Smith was one of the most memorable scenes all year. The score had a lot of effort put towards it, and it works for the environment, and also all the songs are just bangers. It's nostalgia done right, it reminds me of my childhood in the best way imaginable. The visuals match the nostalgia really well, especially everything in the pink opaque. I'll link my video to my full review. Just find a way to watch this. I love Luca, I love Suspiria, I love Call Me By Your Name, I love Bones and all. This run he is on is truly insane. I think this is Luca's best film to date. This script couldn't have fallen into better hands. I can't think of a movie that would be more different than if it was given to a different director. And ultimately, that is the best praise I can give to Luca. I could very well see this movie being a Netflix original with the same script and a different director. This is the movie that officially puts Luca into visionary status. What makes Luca special to me is his creativity. There were only so many different types of shots of tennis on film. Shots of the crowd, ball going back and forth. Well, after you watch this movie, every movie about tennis has been retroactively made worse. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are on top of their game, so much so I decided to listen to 9 Inch Nails again. Just every aspect of the technicals of this film are perfect. Luca always gets the most out of slow motion. He always gets the best out of his performers. All 3 of his performers give career best in my eyes. Just love it to death. I'll link my review here as well. That's the quick list. Here's my entire year ranked on Letterboxd for all of you to see. What is your favorite film of the year so far? What are your surprises? Mine is definitely The First Omen and Bad Boys. I'll see y'all later.